For years, anime simulators have been some of the most popular games on Roblox, yet somehow they never set records or stay at the top very long. They've always existed in this weird space, always massively successful, but never quite reaching the very top of the platform. In 2021, this almost changed. Anime Fighter Simulator hit a staggering 250,000 concurrent players, something that at the time felt completely unheard of for an anime simulator. For a moment, it wasn't just a random anime game, it was the anime game. It became the standard, the blueprint even, of what an anime simulator should be and what players would talk about for years to come. But ultimately, it didn't last. Over the next few years, we saw the same cycle repeat itself, not just for anime sims, but anime games in general. Anime Adventures exploded to 180,000 peak concurrent players. Anime Champions Simulator capturing a glimpse of the previous glory AFS had with 140,000 players. And then we even had other games like Anime Warriors 2, which in my opinion were ahead of its time, but ultimately never saw the same success as the other games. All different games, but with the same outcome. Because no matter how big they got, every single one of them eventually fell off. Whether it was a lack of content, poor updates, or just dwindling player interest, every anime simulator has faced the exact same fate. And that raises a concern, because now, in 2026, you'd think by now someone would have figured it out. Someone would have taken everything these games did right, fixed what they got wrong, and pushed the genre forward. But instead, we got clones. Copy after copy after copy. And it's made one thing painfully clear. Developers have given up on innovation. They're trying to cash in on the work of the previous games and take advantage of players through nostalgia. So that brings us to today. Because after more than 2 years away from YouTube, I decided it's time to revisit Roblox and see for myself what the platform has to offer and answer a simple question. Is it already too late for anime games on Roblox? Or is there still hope for players? So loading into Anime Tactical for the first time, and almost immediately there was a sense of familiarity. Not just the kind you get from this type of game, but something more specific. If you've played Anime Fighters or Anime Champions, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's hard not to notice where the inspiration comes from. The map design, the layout, hell, even the UI, it all feels very recognizable. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it works. It's easy to understand, easy to get into, and for a lot of players, that familiarity is exactly the appeal. You open for units, use those units to defeat enemies, and use those rewards to open even more. It's a loop that's been refined, perfected even, and at this point, it's what players expect. So the issue isn't really the gameplay loop itself, it's how the games are built around these loops. The more I played, the harder it became to separate this game from the ones that came before it. Certain systems start to feel very familiar. Towers, raids, talents, passives. Individually, none of these are revolutionary ideas, right? But together, they start to resemble something we've seen before. And again, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad game, but it does make you question, if everything feels familiar, if it's all just copy and paste, what's the point? I didn't open the game to progress and play. I wanted to see if there was anything different, and there are differences, even if they're not always obvious. As someone who's played a lot of these games, it was a bit hard to tell what the game was trying to do differently, and that lack of clarity, in my opinion, starts to affect the experience more than you'd expect, especially when it comes to progression, because progression is what these games are at their core. After spending a couple hours with the game, I started to run into a big problem. The pacing was atrocious, like painfully bad. At one point, I even ended up using gems on a bundle, not because I wanted to or thought it was a good idea, but because I felt compelled to, in order to keep things moving forward. You can copy all the physical characteristics of a game. The maps, the units, the UI are all easy things to copy, but you can't copy balance or progression. Balance takes time and iteration that a lot of these developers aren't interested in because it's difficult. It takes a deeper understanding of what keeps a player engaged. If that piece of the puzzle is missing, you notice it pretty quick. Once I noticed the big problems of this game, I couldn't bring myself to continue playing, so I went in search of the next game, and that's when I stumbled upon Anime Clash. While it's not an Anime Champions clone, it's still not exactly original, because instead of copying one formula, it's copying a different one. Anime Clash is basically a clone of Anime Eternal, and to its credit, the faster progression does make it feel better to play. Things move quicker, the UI feels clean, and overall, it's just a smoother experience. Anime Clash manages something the ACS clones fail at, and that's giving players a fun game. It sounds weird to say because the ACS clones have more players, but I truly believe Anime Clash is the more enjoyable game, but suffers from the fact that most players just want ACS or AFS again, so they naturally gravitate to those games. Anime Clash doesn't do anything remarkable. You farm energy, you open for units that increase your energy multiplier, you complete tasks, you do raids, dungeons, and you farm resources to progress through the worlds. It sounds exactly like any other sim, but what this game does better than those other sims is progression is quick. You feel like you're getting stronger right away. Now, I can't speak on how it feels later on, but the first hour is quick and responsive, and the game is vibrant. The UIs are smooth, and it just feels like a polished game over a copy and paste. So no, it isn't innovative or even special in any way. It won't break records, but it delivers players a fun experience, in my opinion, and that's what Roblox is all about. With 2 games down, I saw some hope because I don't think players particularly care if you take what ACS or AFS did and make a game similar. Hell, I don't think most people seem to care if it's a blatant copy. What they do care about is progression and bugs. And that's what brings me to Anime Ghosts.
Welcome to Anime Ghosts.
I'll be honest, I actually played this game once before for maybe 30 minutes and I dropped it. Because when you break it down, it should work. It borrows the same systems from Anime Eternal, similar to Anime Clash, maybe even a little ACS. It has stats, ascensions, energy farming, upgrade paths. All the pieces are there, but something just feels off. It's like a weird mutation of ACS and Anime Eternal, bloated and flat at the same time. Nothing about it grabs you or keeps you engaged. Even when recording for this video, I couldn't find anything that stood out, nothing that made me want to highlight it, nothing that felt extraordinary. So why did I include it at all? Because Anime Ghosts is a perfect example of what I've been frustrated with in anime simulators and even Roblox as a whole. A lot of Roblox developers lack understanding of game design and progression systems. They can create incredible visual effects, clean models, and code the core systems that make these games what they are. But ultimately, those just make the shell of the game. Game design gives a game life and makes players want to keep playing. Anime Ghosts is a game that looks like it should work on paper, but it just ends up feeling lifeless. It shows that throwing together systems from other games without understanding them doesn't make a good simulator and leads to players burning out. Is it a bad game? I wouldn't say so. It doesn't have anything objectively broken or terrible that I could find in the short time that I played it. It's just unremarkable. And that, I think, is the biggest problem with anime simulators on Roblox right now. Too many developers are okay with unremarkable, because despite everything, they'll still make a ton of money. Roblox has slowly shifted from fun and innovation to one thing. How fast can you pump out a copy that players will spend on? You see it everywhere. The Brainrot games, Grow a Garden. The front page is littered with clones because they work. So where does that leave anime games? Because if you're asking, is it too late? The answer isn't really simple. For now, we've got games that are playable, fun even, but none of them are taking the risks that are needed. None that are redefining what an anime simulator could really be. Anime games will always have a place on Roblox, but whether they evolve, innovate, or break the mold, that depends on us, the players. And here's the real question. As long as we keep supporting clones, will anyone ever really step up to take a real risk? Or are we doomed to watch the same cycle repeat itself forever?